Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for your patience while we get ourselves set up here this morning. Today we are stabilizer. Okay, and give me 1 second. Let's fix something here that I didn't do before. Put this around. So I'm using OESD's Aqua Mesh Plus. Okay, so Aqua Mesh Plus is a sticky wash away. Okay, that comes from OESD. You can also use Kimberbell's sticky back wash away as well. I am just an OESD lover, so that's typically where I live. You're going to cut a piece large enough to fit either hoop. If you are doing the 5x7 size, that will fit a Bernina large oval. 8x12 is going to need a Bernina maxi hoop for our project. Now, we're going to place this in the hoop paper side up. And so if you look at your stabilizer, one side will be a nice shiny piece of paper and the other side won't be paper, obviously. But when you look at it, it kind of looks like gauze or a mesh. We want to put this into the hoop paper side up, okay? I want to see the paper. We're going to put it in the hoop and then we're going to score around the edge and through the middle and peel off this paper to remove and reveal the sticky, okay? You can do this with the ends of your scissors, the end of a pin, an old needle, your seam ripper, your choice. The key is we don't want to go too hard or too deep into the stabilizer. We don't want to cut all the way through. We just want to score the paper, okay? And so I'm just dragging around the edge right on the edge of my hoop, and then I'm just going to use the tip of whatever I've got to get myself started here. And then I can, there we go, peel it up. Once you get one part out, most of the time the rest of it's going to come easy. We're just going to peel that off. Now, if you have not yet purchased this design for the Spring is in the Air Pennant Banner from the 2022 Kimberbell Dealer Design Exclusives, that is available on our website. We also have a few kits remaining for this project as well. The kit contains the canvas tote bag and the fabric felt glitter and the fusible woven that's needed for the back of the yellow fabric. Now, now that my adhesive is revealed, okay, this is sticky, we're going to move this to the machine, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to stitch some 4x4 centering crosshairs, okay? So if I come over here to the machine, oh, let me get rid of that as well here. Oops, sorry for my hand. So I'm already have open on my machine the 4x4 centering crosshairs that, I'm going to get this fixed, are going to stitch me across right in the middle of my hoop that we're going to use to place our bag, to know exactly where to put it, instead of having to use figuring out drawing those crosshairs or figuring out using plastic templates. We're just going to stitch it. Okay, so doesn't matter what thread color, doesn't matter what you have in the bobbin, all of this is going to not be seen. Okay, so it's just going to stitch down and then stitch back across. Now, once that is stitched, we can set this to the side because we need to, there's our crosshair, okay? We can set this to the side because now we need to prep our tote bag for this design, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your tote bag out of the bag and you're going to give it a good press. Give it some steam, give it an iron, get rid of all those wrinkles out of the bag so that we can be able to appropriately line this up and know which one we're supposed to be dealing with, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to fold the bag, okay, in half, right sides together, okay? So I've got, this is the wrong side of my tote bag, okay? Yes, if you have any questions at any point in time, if you're stitching along with me, or if you're not, you're gonna stitch later, if something doesn't make sense or you need me to clarify, please feel free to drop your question in the chat box and I will answer you. So I'm gonna fold this in half lengthwise, right sides together, so that I can find the middle of the bag. Now, you may find that if you fold it right sides together, matching or dealing with the seam, that your handles may not be 100% matched. So I personally would fold this in half, matching that the handles are stacked on top of each other, okay? Not worrying so much about the side seams because we're not going to use those for this project if you're going to make the pennant banner. I'm going to give this an iron so I get a nice crease down here through the center. And then depending upon the size that you're going to make will depend upon how far we measure down. In the 5x7, we're going to come 4.5 inches down from the top. If you are doing the 8x12, we're going to come 6.5 inches. And that is from the top hemmed edge. Okay, so if I were to measure 4.5 from this top down, Kimberbell recommends putting a pin there. You could, and then you're going to fold at that point. What I do is I'm usually at the ironing board already, so I'm going to fold down at what I visually think is 4.5, and then I just take my ruler and see like, okay, I need to come back another 1/2 inch, and I just continue to measure until I find my 4.5. Now I've already, on this one, found my 4.5. So I'm going to fold that. And you can iron that. You can finger press it if you want. But for the most part, as long as you folded it, that's what we need. Because what's going to happen is we're going to take our hoop. And we're going to take this tote bag. And I'm going to put the finished folded edges along the horizontal and the vertical so that my corner comes right into the point of the bag. Okay? And I want to make sure that everything lines up. Once I have it lined up here, I'm going to unfold the top and line that up along this line. And then I'm going to open it up. And everything should be in there nice and straight. Okay, So it'll be just like that. Now you are centered. There was no need to mark any lines that have to be ironed away or washed away. Everything is lined up and put exactly where it needs to be. Okay? Now, five-inch square to the entire back of the fusible woven. Or you can cut it into the smaller pieces. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So you need two 2-inch squares for this All right, just give us a moment. We've just been informed that when I switch over to the slideshow that we don't have audio, so I am gonna work this old style. Okay, so you have your, we also need to flip cameras. You have your yellow squares that you are going to apply your fusible woven to the backside of. You have the purple glitter that you want to cut into your appropriate size square and remove the plastic film from the top. And then we want to open the embroidery design up on your machine that will give you the necessary size that you're going to be making, whether it's 5x7 or 8x12. Okay. Once we have that, we're going to work through embroidering the project. Okay. So first, color stop, and there are quite a few color changes in this project. I've already got one embroidered so that we don't have to worry about it today, because it's a lot of color changes, a lot of embroidery. We are going to work on embroidering. First up is the leaves. Okay. Then we move to the fill of the tulip, which is hard to see, but it's actually right behind this piece. It's a very small, minor piece that's there. It could even be the same color that you plan to put behind, around your glitter. So in your instructions, you're going to work through all of the steps and all of the color stops for this project. Okay, following the instructions that are in your pattern to work through the project all the way up to color stop 24, which is going to stitch your final few stars that are in the project. Okay, once everything is embroidered, we're going to remove the project from the hoop, and we need to cut away the excess stabilizer from the back of our embroidery. Okay, now a lot of times we want to take scissors and we want to work from the back of our embroidery like this, and you take a bigger risk of getting your project cut or accidentally clipping the end of a project. So anytime you are trimming excess stabilizer, you should really turn it over to the right side and pull back your project and trim with the stabilizer on the bottom so that you can see where your, in this case, your tote bag is at, and that we don't accidentally cut your tote bag. Okay. We'll get all that excess off. And then if you need to, you can turn it back over, and if you need to make some smaller things. But for this project, we don't need to worry about getting into all the nooks and crannies because nobody's going to see the back side of this. Okay. All right. We'll figure it out. It's not a big deal. Now, depending upon what size you are going to make in this project is going to depend upon where you go in your instructions. Okay, I am making 5 by 7 here. Okay, so I'm going to immediately start on page 9. If you are doing 8 by 12, the note tells you that you want to go to page 10. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few moments if you're stitching with me to go ahead and keep stitching, and we'll be right back. Got it. All right, we have we should have audio now when we're looking at the screen. Thank you, Eric and Gina. Okay, so let me just review going through your steps of embroidery. So the first few steps, we've got the leaves, the inner tulip fill, and then the tulip stamens. And then we're going to do the placement line for the tulips. So what I do for these steps here is I go ahead and thread my machine with the thread that I plan to cover stitch with. That way my tack downs won't be seen. We're going to lay the placement line. We're then going to take and place the glitter side up. Okay, we want to see the pretty glitter when we lay it over top of our tulips. You may want to put a little bit of Kimberbell tape there to hold them in place, but for those of you with your Berninas that may have thread away set up, you want to watch this step carefully, because when it cuts the thread here and jumps over, it may want to, the presser foot may want to slide underneath of there. So just don't turn your back and walk away. Tack your glitter down and then trim as close to the stitch line as you can. Once you are stitched down and trimmed, we want to take and press the take a pressing cloth, which is just, you can just use this piece of scrap fabric, and lay it over top of that and press it with a warm iron, 15 to 20 seconds, and you want to give it a good amount of pressure, okay? And then you can remove it. So what this pressing does here is that glitter actually has some glue on the back of it, has some heat activated glue. And so by ironing this down, it's going to keep your applique from being puffy, if that makes sense. And because we don't have a lot of top stitching or cover stitching through this particular item, you want to iron it down so that it stays in place for when you do all of your other stitching and or displaying your project. Now, once your tulip is stitched down and ironed, we're going to run the decorative outline, and then we're also going to run the detail stitching that's going to happen here through the center of our tulips, but also know that that color is also the color of these berries. Okay, that's one color stop. So whatever you choose, it's either going to be the same color, or you need to stop the machine as soon as it finishes the one and change your thread color. Okay. Then we're moving on to appliquing the yellow flower. So the same steps. I load my machine with the yellow thread that I plan to do my cover stitching in. Placement line. Place your fabric right side up, covering both of those placement lines. You may want to use a little tape. Also watch it carefully. Tack it down, trim it. Once it's trimmed, you can run the decorative outline. No need to press this step because there is no glue on the back of your fabric. We're going to run the center of the flower, and then we run the little decorative stamen in the middle, and then you can embroider the phrase "is in the air." Okay, these are all color choices of your choice. Once we move to the banner gets a placement line. Place your felt over top of that placement line, tack it down, and trim. Now with this project, she's showing it to you. The tack down is the final stitch of this design, okay? There is no satin stitch around the edge of this felt, so you want to make sure that when you trim it, that you trim it nicely or neatly so that you have that, because it will not be finished on the outside edge. You can use a color choice. She's showing it here in a color that is bold against the felt, but you could make it match as well. Once your banner is trimmed, you can stitch the word spring, and then we're going to work through the color stops of stitching our moth. Okay, So you have the body, the inner wing, the outer wing, his head and antenna. These little dots on the wing, and then the little shadow or wing detail. And then we have 2 sets of stars, okay, that get stitched. Your color choice, completely up to you. And then you can remove the hoop from the project from the hoop, okay. Trim your excess stabilizer. And now you can, if you would like, to rinse your stabilizer out. I'm not going to, because if I do that, it really needs to dry till it's dry overnight, few hours, and I personally am ready to work on this project and don't have the patience to want to wait anymore. So I don't for this project. You can either wash it out once you have the pennant made if you'd like, or you could really leave it there. It's completely up to you. Now, what's going to happen next is we're going to start assembling our project. And I'm going to set my machine up to sew here. 1 second. I'm going to switch over to regular sewing thread. I'm going to switch to a 1/4 inch presser foot on the machine, and we're going to do some marking. And again, if you are making the 5x7 size of this project, you're going to be looking at page 9. If you are making the 8x12 size of this project, you want to move to page 10. Okay, we have 2 different sets of measurements depending upon which size banner you embroidered. Okay. So we have our banner embroidered, excess stabilizer trimmed. We are going to fold our tote bag in half lengthwise, making sure that our handles are lined up, okay, at both the top of the bag and at the other end of the bag, okay. So we want both handles aligned for this project. She shows you in your instructions that we are going to measure down 9 inches from the top of the tote, okay, and make a mark. Okay, so I'm going to come to the top of my tote bag. I'm going to come 9 inches down, and we're going to make a mark. And I'm doing this on the folded edge of this project. Oh, there's my marker. And I'm going to make just a little hash mark so that I know exactly where 9 inches is. Okay. We're going to unfold the tote bag now, and we're going to refold it lengthwise. And again, I'm going to kind of align my handles. So I have my 9 inch mark is there. We're going to measure over 1 inch from the handle. So I'm going to measure over 1 inch from the handle, and I'm just going to put a mark there. So once I have 1 inch over, let me pull this down so you can see, sorry about that. 1 inch over from the handle, I'm going to go 7.5 inches down, and I'm going to draw a line. Okay, I'm going to do the same on the other side. We're now going to join that bottom line to this line, okay? And so I'm going to go from this mark to that mark, and then I'm going to do the same on this side. We're going to go from that mark to that mark. There's your pennant. We can put pins in our bag here to hold everything where we need it. We're going to take it through over to the sewing machine, and we are going to sew right on top of that marked line. Okay, so let's come on over to our machine. Yep. You want to make sure that you backstitch at the beginning and at the end. I'm going to have the machine stop with the needle in the down position and pivot at this corner. I'm actually going to backstitch too right there at that corner, just to make sure that I can get a nice point. Now, when you come to the point of the flag, I'm actually going to stop one stitch from the point. I'm going to raise my foot, I'm going to pivot straight, and I'm going to take one straight stitch across the point, and then I'm going to pivot. That straight stitch is going to help you get a sharper point at the bottom of your pennant flag than if you stitched all the way into it and immediately pivot. I'm going to come to the corner, I'm going to do a little back stitch, pivot, exactly. Can't say pivot without thinking of friends. Exactly right. Okay, so you can see we are stitched. Once you are stitched and happy with that, we're going to take our rotary cutter and our ruler, and we're going to trim 1/4 of an inch all the way around the sides that we stitched. Okay, be careful not to cut your handles. Okay. That out of the way. Okay, so you've got all trimmed. Now I also would personally grade these corners. So I'm going to come from the corner out, and I'm just going to trim some of this excess from my points. That way when I turn this right side out, I'm not trying to cram as much into that corner. And I'm also going to do the same down here at my bottom. And you can take a rotary cutter and do it as well. Just be careful that you don't cut into your stitching. Now we're going to gently turn this right side out. Even as a little garment, not even as a flag, but like a little bag for a little girl. I mean, how adorable is that? I mean, honestly, I could just leave it just like that. Cute. Adorable. So give it a good press. Okay, make sure you got all your points out and you're happy with everything. And then you can go back to the sewing machine, and we can top stitch across the top and then down the sides and the bottom. Let me flip this around. Okay, so top stitch across to close up your banner, and then you could come down and around. I got to poke this corner out down here. There we go. But I just think it's the most adorable little tote bag for a little girl. Or even, you know, even a little boy if you put like, you know, Hot Wheel cars or something along that lines. And then you can top stitch. The next thing that we need to do, if you are going to leave it as a banner, you want to cut your handles in half. Okay, so we're going to, I'm going to actually fold this so that I can find the middle of my handle. Okay. Cut it in half. And then you can hem these. So fold down and sew across to make that finished. Then this would be ready to either tie around your pole or your banner, flag pole or stand, or you can, if you needed this to be shorter, you could make these shorter. They don't have to stay this full length. It's completely up to you based upon what you want. You don't even want these, you could cut these off if you wanted to just be able to clip it right from the top hem. You could just unsew that if you wanted and remove those, or you could just cut them off even with the top of that bag. Okay, now the same things again happen with the larger banner. So again, decide to do the 8x12 design. Everything is the same, except once we have the design folded in half, we're going to mark 14 inches down from the top. And then we will unfold it, refold it widthwise. We're going to mark 2.5 inches over from the handle and then 11 inches down. Okay. So once you have that 11 inches down, we can then connect the bottom of your 11-inch line with the mark that you made at the middle of the bag at 14 inches. Okay, so you can see that we've got our two 11-inch lines. We're drawing the diagonal connecting the bottom of the 11 with the mark that you made at 14 inches, and then sew. Okay. Now, let's get this camera back here. There we go. If you decide that, you know what, pennant banners are not my thing. Okay, cute design, but I don't really want the pennant banner. Maybe you want to like put it a little farther down in the middle of the tote bag. That would be fine, and then turn this into a standard tote bag. But we took this a step further, and we will eventually have written instructions available for you. But this is the 8x12 size. So you can see the size difference here. Let me make sure I can see. Okay, so 8x12. This is the 5x7. This is done on the chambray tote. Okay, so if the canvas isn't your thing for a tote bag because, you know, maybe we're a little messy, you can do the chambray. We also have denim colored tote bags as well. We embroidered the 8x12 on both sides of the bag. We actually cut the bag in half and added a colored bottom here that we have ironed slicker to, so it's wipeable. It's going to keep it from getting dirty, showing dirt. We took the handles apart, we added some decoration to the handle, kind of added a little color, reinforced it so that it's a little bit, I don't know what's sturdier, but fluffier, easier on the hands if you put, you know, 100 pounds in here. And then we have it lined, and attached to our lining is Kimberbell's Flexi Foam, and that's what's helping this bag stand up. Okay, so it's not collapsing, so it's got squishy Flexi Foam in there. And then we boxed the corners. Okay, so maybe the concept of a pennant banner is not your thing. That's fine. This design still works on other things. They don't have to be on a canvas tote bag turned into a pennant banner. Okay. So yes, we have multiple things that you can do with this particular project that we thought we would give you an alternative to it if the pennant banner and the canvas tote weren't your thing. Okay. As a reminder, if you don't have the March Kimberbell design dealer exclusive, This Spring is in the Air design already, in the description of this video are the links to purchase the design. And we do also still have a few kits remaining for this project that include the canvas tote and the fabrics and the woven interfacing to make the 5x7. Again, there is enough of the yellow and the purple to do the 8x12. You would just need a slightly larger piece of felt in order to do the 8x12. All right, do I have any questions? Trying to see if I covered all my things, which I think I did. All right, so next month, April, we'll be back on, I think it's the second Tuesday that we have planned for our April design exclusive. So be on the lookout. We usually have kits available for that project, and the designs become available for that project on the 1st of the month as well. Next month is a book pillow using the quilted pillow blanks from Kimberbell, and a really adorable design. I thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to follow us here and subscribe to us here on YouTube, and follow us on social media as well. I hope everybody has a great day. Please, please share your project with us. I think this is actually a pretty good or great project for beginners, those that are getting used to using an embroidery machine, because it is very simple embroidery for this. Nothing too terribly difficult. Thank you, Miss Giselle. I appreciate you joining me here today, and I hope you guys have a great day. Be sure to share your project with us. We love to see finished results. Bye, everybody.